Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I am Clementine, and as always, I am Super Saiyan. But never mind that. And in this video, we're gonna take this old guitar made from a table and rip it apart. Then we're gonna rip those pine pickups out of the testing mule guitar. We're gonna mark and cut some templates, do some drilling, do some routing, and see if we can't give these one-of-a-kind pickups a home. I will show and explain the entire process in detail, and because this is part of the Rule Breaker / Mythbuster guitar build series, we'll see what rules we can break and myths we can dispel. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, stay tuned!
Bean footage.
So, previously in this guitar build series, we have built a P90 and 3-pole split single coil humbuckers from a scrap 2x4. We made a $5 roller bridge not suck. We built a custom neck and body from a 1940s oak farm table. We routed a neck and body cavity, installed a Tune-o-matic bridge without neck angle, then we did a dry fit, and finally we proved that a cheap Chinese Bigsby can be made to do dive bombs and stay in tune. But I think the guitar might sound a lot better in the end if we had a place to put those pickups. So let's
Make some sawdust.
Okay, the first thing you're gonna see in this video is a side grinder with a flapper disc. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out myth number 1 and 2 for this video. And that is that you have to buy expensive and guitar-specific tools to build guitars. Every tool you will see in this video was purchased used from Harbor Freight or from eBay and Amazon. What I'm doing in this shot is creating a very simple guitar-specific tool. I'm using the flapper disc to flatten the side of a pencil. I simply could not complete this guitar without making this tool. And here you can see why it needed to be flat. I am marking a line under the position of the 2 outside and 2 middle strings. This is so that later I will know the proper position of my pole pieces. Now that the strings have been marked, I can start to take off the hardware from the guitar body. And that brings me to a point that I forgot to mention in the last video. I placed the bridge inserts about 1/4 of a millimeter wider than they actually needed to be. And this locks the bridge down to the body very tightly. Even after you remove the 4 Allen set screws, the bridge has to be pried away from the body. My thinking in this situation was that the more solid I could make it, the less vibration energy would be lost from the string. Off with the Chigsby, and now I can flip it over and remove the neck. Just for fun, we'll call this myth number 3. That bolt-on neck is actually held on by 4 screws. That's what you call clever marketing, and that actually brings me to the real point that a lot of features that guitar and pickup manufacturers make such a big deal of are exactly that, marketing. They reinvent the wheel and then sell it to you as the new improved high traction pneumatic rotation device with inertia maintaining steel core and hydraulicized air non-skid technology, or a car tire. Now it's time to remove those pickups from the testing mule guitar. Now I can place the P90 in what I feel like is the approximate position that I want it in. Then to the split single coils, which was much more difficult. I just thought I was cool as hell when I first made them, but it was at this point that the reality kicked in that these have to be straight with the poles under the strings. The rendering had no pickup rings. I have to do this twice, and I've never routed a pickup cavity with no pick guard in my life. So I did this with a purple pencil so that it would show up against the grain. And now it's time to make a template. And this high-dollar guitar-specific template material was liberated from a discarded speaker box using a tool that no guitar maker should be without, the tone hammer. I only traced one of the small single coils, and I just did it in a general location because I figured it would save me a lot of work if I just made one template and used it twice. You can see here I've taken a drill and put a hole in both of the tracings to give me a place to put the blade through. I apologize to those of you that watched the last video. This may just seem like more of the same, but I try to get a much better angle on the saw, and I will explain a lot more about what it is I'm actually doing and why. Okay, so you can see it looks like I'm cutting like a blind man, and it's not that I couldn't cut on the line if I wanted to. but I'm trying to stay well inside so that I can fine tune it later. And I'm also standing in high winds with a wind chill of 27 degrees, so I don't think my hands were the most dexterous that they had ever been at this moment. You'll notice that when I get to the turns, I kind of rock the workpiece back and forth and eat out a hole so I can make a turn without the blade flexing too much. These coping saw blades are very cheap at Harbor Freight, but I would still rather not break one. I live out in the boondocks and I don't really feel like going to town just for a pack of blades. And when they break, it can be rather dangerous. They're only held in by tension on a little roll pin and they can fly out and stick in your forehead. Oh, and if you didn't know, this tool is a scroll saw and it's also from Harbor Freight. If you wait for the right sale, you can get one surprisingly cheap. I think that with a fine-tooth blade and plenty of tap magic or a similar cutting fluid, you could probably cut 1/8 inch aluminum with it. So now it's time to tune up that P90 template. I used the fine side of the saw rasp to get all the straight sides as straight as I could. Then I switched to a flat file to try to tune it in a little better and get a good finish on the edge. And with both tools, you can see I'm kind of angling it out toward the bottom. And one reason I'm doing that is to get a sharp edge on the top, but another reason is to make sure that the bottom doesn't stick out toward the inside of the template and cause the router bearing to ride against that and make a smaller size hole. Now, unfortunately, I had been building brackets for motorcycle blinkers. I had tools strewn all around the shop and I could not find my round files. So this is a good example of how you can just use whatever you have. I filed those radii in the corners with the edge of the flat file. A single groove file like this is called a bastard file. And when I started on the radius on each end of that small single coil hole, it really felt like the name was very appropriate. So after checking and marking and tuning the P90 template, I got it dialed in to where I could put the pickup in there and let go of it and it would stay right where it was. And with the split single coil template, I didn't get it dead on. It's actually kind of wonky, but it's close enough for rock and roll, and I'll show you later how I remedy that. So now that the templates are decent, I can place them on the guitar and make more of a permanent outline for where the pickup routes will be. And this time I used a baby blue pencil.
That is clearly an aquamarine. Are you perhaps colorblind or just uneducated American swine?
Okay, well I guess I used an aquamarine colored pencil. Well, now that I've marked the templates with a baby blue pencil, come on Sir Lordwick Von Magenta, don't make me get the tone hammer. Well anyway, now we got a date with the drill press. I figured out the depth by using a mounting screw and figured it to be just a little over the depth of the neck pocket. It's time to start sinking some force in her bit. I came so close to missing with the first one. It is dead on the line. And I'm not really trying to take a whole lot out. Since I have no pickup rings, I really don't want to mess up the edge. You're just generally giving a break to the router. You can see this smallest bit in the set's kind of struggling a little bit and smoking. Somebody was using it on a 1x4 last year, and they might have cut a finishing nail with it. I heard through the grapevine that it sounded like some kind of banging sound, and whoever it was looked in the hole and it had machined it. The challenge with the P90 was trying to figure out how to turn the guitar so I could get the drill in the right spot, but we got her did, Lord Magenta and I. Okay, so now we're ready to do the redneck double-sided tape trick. We'll put the super glue on the tape and then stick the template over it. As I stated before, I just can't trust anything, especially super glue in cold weather. So we use a bit for a pocket jig, countersink some 3-inch decking screws, and we're ready to fire off the router. I really do wish there was something more exciting to show with the whole routing part, but at this point you just kind of wobble it all around in there. Drop the bit down a little bit more, wobble it all around in there again. Do that several times until it don't go down no more. Then you remove the template, reset the router, and wobble it around in there again until you get to your desired depth. The way you can get away with not using a template is that the bearing will ride on the part you already cut. So now it's time for the crappy part. I put the template on for the left split single, routed a thin pass, reset my depth, and routed a deeper pass. I did this a few times and then it's time to remove the template. And that looks terrible. So I flipped the template over and reapplied it. Then I routed again, and now she ain't perfect, but she ain't so bad. That's tunable. I didn't want to go through all this hassle again, so I went ahead and refiled the template so that it would match the hole that I had made. I applied it over the other side, and I didn't even bother with the tape. It was too cold and it wasn't working anyway. I went through my routing cycles over there, and it turned out damn decent, if I may say so myself. And that takes us to myth number 4 of this video. I bet you thought the routing would be the exciting part of the video. Unfortunately, there's really no good way to record it without filling up the camera lens with sawdust. And when you get to the point of routing, all the hard work's already done. It takes about 10 minutes. So guys, that just about does it for this video. If you found this entertaining or educational in any way, please like and maybe subscribe. But wait, don't leave yet. I'd like to talk about what we're going to do in the next video. And it's not this guitar. There will still be videos in this series, shaping the body, doing arm and belly cuts, working the frets, doing finish, and of course a final test. But the very next thing I'm going to do is a pickup experiment. I am going to attempt to make the strongest humbucker in the world! And I think I have a very interesting way of going about this. And I do expect a little bit of argument and claims about someone maybe having a stronger pickup. But I have a backup plan. But we'll get to that when the time comes. If you're still here listening to me, thank you so much for your time. I'm Clementine. You're watching Heavy Metal ATC. Till next time!